I guess I can't really ask. I mean, maybe I can ask what it is.
That's the Spyro parody for MASH.
Oh, okay.
All about
That's
that.
gonna get a lot of views.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And on that note, here to tell us how to write funny jokes, it's Piemations.
Hey.
Okay, so I have to know, are you a guy with a pie on his head or a bird?
It varies.
Oh my gosh. Well, how should I draw you then?
Guy with pie on his head.
So you've done a ton of parody animations, and lately you've been getting into some very clever original animations. But the one thing they all have in common is that they're funny. So how do you come up with your jokes?
The thing about the way I write jokes is I haven't had any like formal training or
Yeah, no formal joke training.
which is a thing, of course. I don't know, it just you write what you think is funny and hopefully other people think it's funny as well.
What do you think makes something funny then?
I usually shoot for two kinds of jokes. It's either something completely unexpected or, in most cases, violent. Random violence is pretty funny. Or it is repeating the same kind of simpler joke over and over again. I'm trying to think of an example.
Oh, I got a good example. So what about you did the suction cup man, and he has a song.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so the first episode he sings this song, and then there's a second episode where, again, you kind of build on that joke. Did you think to do that when you were writing the second one?
Yeah, the idea with the second episode was that we're basically going to make it the exact same thing, but build on a few of the jokes. And now we're even working on a third where a lot of the jokes are still the same.
Yeah, you say they're the same, but they're different. It's like they become better.
The same but different.
You did this animation called Sheriff Hayseed, and that one departed from what you normally do because a lot of your jokes are, random violence or swearing and sort of dark or
I don't know if it's dark, it's just
what's a way to describe
vulgar.
it? Vulgar, perfect. Yeah, so Sheriff Hayseed is completely a step away from that. What made you think you wanted to try that kind of comedy?
That was the challenge, to see if I could.
Do you feel you were successful?
Sorta.
Sorta.
I feel I could have done better. I still did resort to people punching each other a lot.
Sometimes you write short jokes, and sometimes you write this whole episode-long thing. So what's your process for sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to try to make something funny without swearing or, heavy violence?
It's hard to explain it because comedy isn't formulaic. It's hard to predict what can and can't be funny unless you yourself find it funny.
Yeah, and you go to a lot of conventions, so you get the chance to play these animations and see how people react. Have you ever had times where something you thought was really funny fell flat?
Absolutely. And I've had the inverse, where something I didn't even think was a joke got a big laugh.
So it's kind of unexpected in a way. But I don't know. I feel like you do such a good job with it. So I'm trying to think of how to get down into that.
The only formula I ever really follow is the rule of thirds. Comedy comes in threes. You do one thing, and then you do it again, but then the third time you subvert expectations and do something completely different or some sort of different take on it. The Suction Cup Man series is gonna kind of do that in the third episode.
Ooh. Ooh.
So the first two episodes have been almost exactly the same. Now how do I explain how the third one's different without spoiling the whole plot?
That's not.
It's the big thing.
Not gonna expect that. Do you ever get help from other people on your scripts? Do they look over them at all? Do they check to make sure things are funny?
I have said we a lot when I'm talking about making new videos. And that's because I have sort of a loose writing team. Double A Antics and Zach X Fuller. They help sometimes. Usually I'm going at it solo though, and they just look at it after the fact. It does help to have that extra perspective as it's being written though.
Do you find that writing original comedy is different than writing for a parody?
Well, it's a lot harder for sure.
Oh.
You have to think about all the character traits that you have to establish. In parodies, you don't have to worry about that. Like, Squidward has a gun. If that were an original, you would think, well, what's the big deal? It's just a guy with a gun. But Squidward isn't supposed to have a gun, so when you give him a gun, it's funny all of a sudden.
So yeah, I guess with when you're doing your original stuff, you have to establish who the characters are, and at the same time be funny, because otherwise it's boring.
Right. And that was kind of the point of the whole Todd and Sean playing chess scene, is to establish that one of them is dumb and one of them is smart. And that's basically their whole characters.
Oh my-
Because I only had 2 minutes to expand on that. There's a lot more, but 2 minutes is not a lot of time.
So for people who write animation comedy scripts, so there's probably people here thinking they want to make some funny animations. For you, what is one of the most important things that someone should do when they're writing comedy?
I think you have to keep a very visual idea of it, because a lot more goes into specifically animation comedy than dialogue, especially timing. Timing is one of the biggest things, and if you don't have timing right, almost any joke can fall flat. People tend to say I have good timing. In my older videos, I would doubt that, but nowadays, I think I'm getting it.
Yeah, you've come a long way. I was looking at some of the older videos this morning. I was like, wow.
Oh yeah, some of those things are complete train wrecks.
Just since you mentioned it, I'll ask. Because you're dealing with the animation side of things too, and you said that it's different than just writing a joke, because you have to deal with the visuals. So what are some things you can kind of get away with in animation that you wouldn't be able to if you only had words?
Exaggerated expressions. I'm going to use the word exaggerated a lot. Exaggerated violence. In my Cuphead parody, really the only violence I had in that video was Mugman gets slapped across the face. But he doesn't just get slapped. He gets slapped so hard, his entire body rotates from the sheer force of a slap. Having that kind of exaggeration helps emphasize funniness, I guess.
I guess that's why they call it slapstick humor. I know, I really didn't want to say that out loud, but it just was in my head.
Awful.
Have you ever studied any funny animations to see what you like, didn't like, that sort of thing?
Well, I mean, to be honest, in terms of studying animation and what makes it funny, I watched the Angry Birds movie and enjoyed it, and I didn't know why. So I actually went back and watched that movie like 3 or 4 times through to figure out why it was funny to me.
What'd you decide?
It does have a lot of slapstick. I think that's it. Most of the dialogue is abysmal, but slapstick was really well animated, and I think it carried the movie all the way through. So slapstick can certainly carry. And, Tom and Jerry never had, well, for the most part, didn't have dialogue.
So thanks for being on the show. And before you go, what's coming out soon on your channel that we can look forward to?
Suction Cup Man 3, probably. I don't know how long it's going to take. Hopefully short. And on the Mashed channel, they are releasing a Spyro parody that I did a lot of animation for. And by a lot, I mean all.
That's going to be great. People are going to love that.
I think so. I didn't write it, so it's not my style of comedy. It's very close.
But did you get to choose how... I mean, you probably got to choose how it was animated, so you had...
I did the visuals from the storyboard to the final cut all the way through, so...
Oh, wow.
It is entirely my style, which was really fun.
I'm thinking maybe we'll see some slapstick.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. So, thanks for coming on the show. See you next time.
Yeah. I had a fun time. Thank you.